Counsel, in which case is the relationship between the agency closer to the COVID-19 danger? In this CMS case that you're arguing before us now, or in the OSHA case that your boss just finished arguing?
I think they're different cases. I think it's hard to say which one is closer. The OSHA case, the OSHA Act gives the Secretary of Labor responsibility for workplace safety, and you just heard why the COVID-19 pandemic is a grave threat in the workplace. CMS has authority to protect the health and safety of patients in Medicare and Medicaid, and explained at length why the COVID-19 pandemic is an acute danger to patients in that setting. So I think they're both very close.
Well, maybe it expand it. Which is a more acute danger, OSHA, CMS, or the federal contractor vaccine mandate?
Well, I think all of them. I think this gets to the question you asked my boss earlier, which is, the government is doing a lot of things in response to the pandemic, and I don't think that's a surprise. This is an unprecedented pandemic that touches virtually every aspect of American life, and so it does affect the authorities of lots of different federal agencies.
Do you think the government has picked the three most pressing areas to address, and they're doing it in order? Or why OSHA, why CMS, why federal contractors, why not any host of other areas that are also, where COVID-19 is also a serious problem?
Well, because the federal government is, as some of the questions earlier have suggested, a government with limited powers. The federal agencies have the authorities that Congress has given them. Congress has made OSHA responsible for workplace safety. Congress has made CMS responsible for Medicaid and Medicare patient safety, and those agencies have determined and explained their conclusions why those authorities are called upon here by the sort of unique threat that the COVID-19 pandemic poses in both contexts.
I thought you might have said, and it may have been uncomfortable, but I thought you might have said we're dealing here in this case with health care, with Medicare and Medicaid, and what could be closer to addressing the COVID-19 problem to health than health care? I mean, people already get sick when they go to the hospital, but if they go and face COVID-19 concerns, well, that's much worse. On the other hand, OSHA, its workplace, yes, COVID is a problem in the workplace, and in some situations it may be a more serious problem. But it seems to me that if any of the three that I've been talking about anyway present a close connection, it would surely be between a health threat like COVID-19 and the government's health care.
Mr. Chief Justice, I certainly don't want to disagree with that at all. I think there is an acute threat that COVID-19 poses in healthcare settings. We've seen that throughout the pandemic, especially in nursing homes and other congregate care settings, which are within the scope of this rule. I absolutely agree that Americans shouldn't be forced to choose between getting medical care and exposing themselves unnecessarily to a virus. And as we explain, healthcare workers have long been expected to take extra precautions, including vaccinations, in order to prevent them from infecting their patients. So I don't disagree with any of that, but in making all of those points, I don't want to undersell also everything you heard about in the first case about the grave danger that the pandemic poses for workers as well, in a way that implicates OSHA's authority too.
Counsel, there is another significant difference that you haven't talked about. This is a spending clause case and not a general powers case. And I always thought that when you're talking about spending clause, that the government has more power to define where it wants to spend its money, correct?
Absolutely.
And to that extent, one of the major arguments raised by the other side here that I want you to address is what they describe as the